Hello YouTube pipers, Double O Pipe here, aka Rick. I painted the end of this with some acrylic paint, and I thought I would stuff into it some Granger. I'm not so sure about this because even after I put that paint on, I put it in my mouth and I didn't particularly like the feel of it. I know I can't clamp it, so I don't know, but we'll see. This will be a new smoking experience for me. I'll probably end up with putting this away and getting one of my regular pipes out and smoking some Captain Black Royal again. I haven't smoked that in a while. Okay, let's see what we got here. Stevie, where did that go? There it is. I knew it was over here somewhere. It's definitely a different experience. Maybe I should have tried an aromatic in this. Stevie's tamper he made for me a while back. This has got such a small bowl that regular tamper I've been using won't fit. Talk about an easy draw. Definitely can't hold that bowl. That's doesn't stick to my lips because of that, that works. It's almost like just breathing in a fire. I guess because that hole is so big here and it just gets smaller and smaller as it comes back. I think I'm going to try this next time with an aromatic. My beverage in my Ghostbusters mug. Thought I'd try something different this week, so I got some ginger beer, Reed's ginger beer. Now I was wondering what the difference was, and I think the ginger is just a bit stronger. Usually when we got ginger ale, it was Canada Dry, and that was a pretty mellow, because other ginger ales that I've gotten have been strong and just kind of burn the back of your throat as it goes down. And that's what this one's doing. But this is ginger beer, not ginger ale. Okay, done with that experiment. What I'm going to do now is get this pipe, because I haven't played with this one for a while. And I'll put some Captain Black into it. Yeah, it's like as if you were in the middle of a fire, your house was on fire or something, you were just breathing in smoke. I think that's why I'd like to try some aromatic on it next time, or in it. Okay, Captain Black Royal. One of the first ones I bought when I started up this smoking of a pipe. There's one local tobacco shop around here, and I went in to see how much it costs there, and for a 7-ounce tin they wanted $40. So I went online, and you could get a 7-ounce tin and something else from smokingpipe.com for $40. So I told them they could keep it, and ordered it from smokingpipes.com. I think I ordered 2. I did enjoy it. It's got a nice flavor. I think I'm an aromatic type person, because most of the aromatics that I've tried I've liked. That clay pipe flipped over and got ash all over the table. Ooh. Yeah, I feel more at home with that. I like being able to do that. Yeah, that's got a high concentration of ginger in it. I'm not much for soft drinks. But occasionally I'll have one. They're just too sweet for me. And I never liked that non-sweet crap, because to me that's what it was. Give me sugar if you're going to give me a soft drink. Yeah, Captain Black, good stuff. Royal, Blue Label. There's a hurricane down in the Gulf of Mexico. At present, I think it's a tropical storm. And I didn't see what they named it. But its path as it comes up, it's going to be north, then northeast, so that it swings right across the coast of South Carolina, and we're right in the middle of it. Now, way back when, Clyde and I used to drive around in them because we loved them. But at an at another time in life, when I was here and I had just bought a house after getting a divorce, and my son came up to live with me. This was about straight across the golf course. It was about half a mile. If you go around, it's about a mile and a half, possibly 2 miles, but I don't think it's 2 miles. But you can't cross that creek. There's no bridge across it, so. And they don't like you walking on the golf course, but never stopped us when we were young. And I think it was 1989. That's pretty sad because I didn't think that date would ever leave my mind. They said a hurricane was headed this way. And Dad said, since you just got that house, how about your mother and I come down there with you? I said, that's fine with me. He said, you know how it floods here? And I said, yes, I do. So, now I didn't realize it, but that particular morning I was outside clearing up the yard from all the stuff that could be turned into a missile and got a call. I heard the phone ringing inside and went inside and answered it. And they said, where are you? I said, who is this? They said, this is so-and-so at work. I said, I'm not supposed to be at work. He said, yes, you are. You're here. You're supposed to be here now. I said, oh, my gosh. So I got dressed and went in. And when we got there, the news kept getting worse and worse about this hurricane, which they had named Hugo, heading in our direction. It was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I said, how about let me go home and take care of my family, because my mother and my dad were coming over, and I think my grandmother wanted to come over to my place too. So they said, okay, go on home. And my son and his dog. I do like this much better than that clay pipe. So I went home. We put the cars up. I think I drove one car up at the side of the house against the fence and some trees over that area. And Dad put his car in the garage. And then the wind started picking up and the rain started. So I said, why don't I open up the front door and the back door, because there's a direct cross current. I said, maybe that'll eliminate the pressure, because when it comes over, that low pressure would cause the high pressure in the house, if it's closed up, to lift the roof off. So he said, that sounds like a pretty good idea. So that's what I did. So we had hurricane winds coming through the house, which I thought was a better idea than having the roof be lifted off. And as the day wore on, the winds got worse and worse, the rain got worse and worse. The sun went down. And we sat there. Usually the hurricanes, we could see what was happening, but when it got to be night, we couldn't see anything. All we could hear was scared the fire out of all of us. So Dad said, because the electricity had gone out, and he had brought over a little tiny television set with some batteries in it. And we watched television till the, I guess the stations went on generator or something because they were still broadcasting, but they were only broadcasting local things and reruns of a western. I think the western was called The Guns of Will Sonnet, and for some reason my dad couldn't get the sonnet part and he called it Soffit. The Guns of Will Soffit. But they kept us updated on what was happening, and they said the eye of the hurricane was going to come through about, I think it was midnight. And they said that's going to be the worst thing that can happen, because the winds that are hitting you now, when they come back, they're going to be hitting you from the opposite direction. So everybody in the family went down the hall and parked ourselves on the floor in the hallway, closed all the doors so that the structure would be a little sounder. And we sat there because it was frightening. I mean, the rain was heavy, the winds were, that was a monster storm. And we sat there, and all of a sudden, everything went quiet. So my son and I ran to the door and looked outside, and it was just as calm. And we walked outside and looked up at the sky, and there were stars. No wind, no rain, just calm. And Dad came out and looked around and said, "This must be the eye." And I said, "I reckon it is." And then, as the storm kept moving, the winds began to come back and the rain started again. So we ran back in the house, got back in the hallway, and with that new wind direction and everything, we thought we heard noises like freight trains. And one of the transformers on the telephone post out there blew up. I guess salt water from the ocean plus all that got into it, and it just blew up. It sounded like a bomb went off. So anyway, we sat there. I think every one of us was praying. And I said, "Dad, are you afraid?" And he looked at me and said, "Well, yeah, but we'll be okay." And I said, "Okay." He was kind of our rock. And if he'd have shown fear, I mean real fear, then we'd have all been really anxious. But he was for us the rock we needed at the time. I don't know how long that, I can't remember these details anymore. I used to be embedded in my mind. But we sat there, and it seems like it was morning before it began to lessen and the sun came out. And we went to the door in the front there and looked outside, and the rain was getting lighter and lighter. The winds were calming down some. So curiosity got us, and we walked outside, and in that, it wasn't that bad then. And at the side of the yard, one of the neighbor's pine trees, which went from here to eternity up to the sky, had come down, missed my house and missed the house that was behind us, fell right in between. We were very fortunate. That could have killed everybody in the house if it had fallen on us. Somebody was looking out for us. And we walked out to the road and we looked over at the golf course, and just about, well, there were paths, looked like paths of where the tops of trees had been snapped. Pardon me. And had fallen to the ground. It was like it had to have been a tornado. Went through and snapped off the tops of all those trees. And that wasn't just one path, there were several. And that must have been what the freight train noises were we were hearing. Once again, he was looking out for us. And after it finally calmed down completely and the hurricane was gone away from us, I said, let's drive down to your house and see what the damage is down there. He said, I'm afraid we can't drive. I said, why not? He said, look down the road. Trees across the road all the way down as far as you could see. I mean, just almost bang, 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 bang. Same the other direction. We were blocked in. About that time we started hearing whoever had gas-powered or chainsaws were at work on them, cutting through them, getting them off the road. The whole neighborhood was out there doing that. And I didn't have a chainsaw, so I said, well, Dad, you want to walk down there? And he said, well, we can try. He said, you know, I've never seen this much devastation. He said, not since the war. So, I mean, it was like a battlefield. So we climbed over trees, crawled under trees, walked all the way down till we got to the corner where his road was, and we turned down there, same thing, trees across the road. It took us 1.5 hours to make a trip that normally takes 5 minutes in a car. There was that much timber across the roads. And when we got here, which was Dad's residence, they had a big oak out in the front yard, and it had fallen over and crashed into the roof. Other than that, the rest of the yard was okay. The rest of the trees were okay. But that one particular oak, which was a beautiful oak, but unfortunately the ground that it was in was more like pluff mud, because this area had been part of the marsh, but Dad had filled it in with soil, and the roots weren't able to go down far enough to really hold that tree in place in a wind as strong as the winds we had then. And when we went back to my house, there is one bridge, but it's not a bridge, it's a driveway that has a drive that goes across it was a ditch where they were, because this creek narrows to more like a ditch further down the road. And it was a farmer's field. And we walked across the farmer's field, which was just mud, and we had mud up to our knees, I believe, as we walked back. Didn't take us an hour and a half, but still took us a while to get back. And when we did, we went into the house, and my son said our neighbor had a chainsaw and said he would cut up some trees if we needed it. So we did. I had a neighbor in front of me. His fence was knocked down. When everybody went home and my son and I were back in the house, I went outside at night just to kind of look around because it was quiet and still, and it was just a relief to be in normality again. And I just happened to look over at the neighbor's house, and their bedroom light was on, and I don't have to tell you what was happening in the bedroom, but they realized I was outside, and I had just looked in that direction for a second, and the wife screamed, and the blinds came down. They were used to that fence being there. So that's the only real chuckle I got out of Hurricane Hugo, because that was a devastating hurricane. And Dad saying that he hadn't seen that much damage in the landscape since the war. So I mean, it must have been really terrible to his eyes, and must have brought back memories to him, because he was kind of quiet there for a few days after. He did get the oak tree cut off of the roof and had it hauled off and had somebody come over and fix the roof. In my house, which we thought would probably be blown away in a wind like that, lost 3 shingles off the roof. We were just shocked. So, ever since Hurricane Hugo, I think everybody over here in this area who lived through it, we have never taken hurricanes lightly again. We used to just take them in stride. But now, people evacuate, and since this place floods, I do evacuate too. Now, in the past, I have stayed here, but whenever I have dogs that I'm responsible for, I like to take them away from this, because I'm more concerned about them than I am me. And my buddy Jack used to say, "Come on over here." And I would go over there with my dogs, because I had 2 of them at the time. And anytime a hurricane came, he would always say, "Come on over." And I would go over to his place. And it seemed like every time I went over to his place and the hurricanes were coming, they weren't bad at all. So we felt like we contributed to the easiness of the storm when I came over there. And he always asked me how his dogs were doing, because he felt like they were his after being in his house. Because it was every year I'd go over at least once. Sometimes, even if it didn't look like a bad hurricane, I'd go over there because it was just enjoyable to be together. He and I, his wife had passed away a while back, and we just enjoyed each other's company. And then he went and passed away on me 3 years ago. Just hadn't been the same since. Used to be able to call him on the phone and just shoot the breeze. And if I was in a bad mood, I'd be in a good mood again because he was funny. He was a funny guy. Okay. I see that I have gone way over the limits I normally go. And I'm sorry if it was too much for you. If you stayed on, thank you. I appreciate you staying on. But I wasn't expecting to yammer away like this. All right, hope everybody's doing all right. Take care of yourselves. If you're in this area, take stock of what's going to happen. Make your decisions and live through it. God bless you until the next time. Bye-bye.